The entrepreneur's journey. The entrepreneur's journey is the plan for the entrepreneur to go from market entry to exit strategy. And hopefully the business will be launched and grown so that there's a successful exit strategy. Part of the process of this program is developing a plan for your journey, for your entrepreneurial journey. And what we want to do is a successful exit at some point. It could be a year from now, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years from now. You would leave the business in your desired strategy or your desired goals. So let's take a look as we go through this entrepreneurial journey from market entry, and let's look at these 3 different areas: finance, marketing, and sales, about how we can grow the business to help the entrepreneur achieve their exit strategy. So the first part is market entry, and this is how a business would enter the market. A market is a place where businesses exchange products or services with buyers. So examples may include farmers market, a shopping mall, a neighborhood, a city, eBay, Amazon, or an online business. So depending on the type of business you're in, you would want to enter a market where other businesses are competing for customers. Okay. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to create a business selling tamales at a farmer's market. There might be 3 different farmers market in your area to choose from. And so as a strategy, which one should you enter first? And that's a good question for any type of business, is to identify which market would be the ideal one for my business to enter. And part of the strategy that we go through is looking at who the competitors that are existing in each market now, and what does the makeup of the customers in the market look like. Okay. So market entry strategies may include starting a new business, franchising a business, or buying an existing business. There's 3 ways to create the structure and then identifying which market you want to enter. So let's take a look at each of those. For a startup business, this is one that the entrepreneur creates on their own. Okay. In the Small Business Administration, they have 10 steps. If you know the type of business you want to start, to get your business started up. And those range from conducting market research to number 10, opening up a business bank account. So these often are the 10 steps that would be recommended for the SBA. So this is not necessarily the 10 steps we're going to be running through in this program. But if you knew already the type of business you wanted to start, these would be the 10 steps. So part of these we'll be doing in our class. We will be conducting market research. We will be working on writing a business plan. We will be identifying some of the funds that are going to be necessary. Ideally, picking your location and business structure, choosing a name, understanding the business permits and licenses that you'll need. And then that's about it for this course. But we're doing the planning. But if you literally wanted to open up a business, these are the 10 steps that are recommended by the Small Business Administration. What we do in this program is get you a good plan to accomplish these 10 steps. Another way to open up your business is a franchise business. What is a franchise? A franchise is a local agreement or contract that allows a business to be operated using the name and business procedures of another firm. Examples of franchise businesses are Subways, they make sandwiches, Rally's, hamburgers, Massage Envy, UPS stores. These are all businesses where the business model is already created, and you don't buy the business, but you buy a license that would allow you to operate this business in your area. And a definition of license is the agreement to permit the use of something or to allow an activity to take place. the role of franchisees are the franchisor or the franchisee. The franchisor in the relationship of the license, the franchisor is the owner of the larger company that grants the right to use the name of the business to a franchisee. Generally, if you were to start a franchise business and operate a Subway shop, you would be the franchisee, and you would receive the rights to use the name or services of the larger company to operate that business. The franchisee often doesn't own the business name of the franchise, but has the rights of contract or agreement to sell those products under that name. So how do you find a franchise? There are industry specific, and they often have trade shows that you can attend. For example, Franchise Expos West. They have a trade show October 15th through 30th, and they have one every year. So you can just Google Franchise Expo, or you can go to franchiseexpowest.com and see when the current one is. There's also web aggregators such as franchisegator.com, where you can type in the type of industry you wanted to work in, low cost, in California, under $10,000. Is there one? Let's find out. And they'll sort and they'll show you where their information is for that type of business for that location. Okay. So those are some ways to learn a little bit more. The last way is buying a business for market entry, right? Ways to purchase a business. You can purchase it from a network of friends, family, or business. You can hire a business broker that would provide guidance and negotiating assistance, or there's portals or marketplaces online, such as bizbuysell.com, where you can find different businesses. And this is a great website just to look at, so you can understand a little bit more about what businesses they're selling for. And this not only helps you understand if you were the cost to start up a business, but if you ever wanted to sell your business, you can see, oh, this is how much businesses are going for once they're up and running. Okay, so one of the questions that's most important if you're considering buying a business that's already existing is determining the value or the cost you're going to pay. So there's a couple methods to determining the value of a business. One is the rule of thumb method, where if you could say or see that another business of a very similar type of business in a similar location, a similar criteria, if you knew what that business sold for, another similar business should, by rule of thumb, sell for a very similar price. Okay, so that's one method. For example, if a local restaurant with an annual revenues of $500,000 sold for $150,000, what would a similar restaurant with the revenues of $1 million sell for? So in this rule of thumb, it might sell for, since the revenues are about double, the price would be double, so around $300,000. This might not be exactly accurate because there's other methods to value the business that may be better for your situation. So one other method is asset valuation, and that's the value of something that is expected to have value in the future. That's what an asset is. And businesses, if they're sold using the value of asset valuation, that means you add up the tangible assets and the intangible assets. Tangible assets are the seen assets, things that you can touch and see, for example, stoves, chairs, vehicles, buildings. And the intangible assets are the things you can't see, for example, the brand name, or if they have a trademark, or if they have really good customer ratings on a review site, or if they have a customer list, or if the employees have specific knowledge, you might pay more for those intangible assets for a business. Another method, this is the third method we're describing in this course, is the earnings multiplier method. That's a valuation method used by basing the selling price of a business on the earnings of a business to determine how many years it would take to pay back the cost of the investment. This helps the buyer analyze the return on investment when buying a business. Often different industries have a common multiplier that is used, meaning the sales price is 1 or 2, 3, or 5 times the annual earnings in a row. So you can find common averages for your industry. There's a company called Viking Mergers and Acquisitions, and I don't know them. They are a business broker. They can help you buy a business, they can help you evaluate it. So that's what they do. I don't recommend them. I don't even know them, but they do have a good source here for the different types of businesses. You can see, for example, car washes. They'll give you some criteria of how they would evaluate it on average for this type of business. For example, it would be maybe 1 times the annual sales plus any inventory that's in there. So if the car wash had sales of $1 million, it would be worth about $1 million to buy the business. Okay, but they have also different things that they look at, and this is why it may be good to hire a company that can help evaluate a business, because they also not only look at the revenues brought in, but the earnings or the profit that the business makes. Okay, so that would be a good thing to check out if you're thinking about buying, but also if you're thinking about the exit strategies, it's good to know for different types of businesses, they have different types of earning multipliers to determine the value.